Last year, I wrote a brand new choral composition called Eclipse, and it was premiered by the Clyde High School Concert Choir. Come with me as I retell the journey of how this piece came to be, from my first meeting with the choir director, to the first notes on the page, to the first ever performance of this new composition in the small town of Clyde, Texas. This is how I wrote Eclipse from start to finish. It all began last summer as I was itching to write a new choral piece, but I didn't want to just write something for fun. I wanted to write a piece that I knew was going to be performed on a certain date, and would therefore have the one thing that forces any composer to actually finish writing something: a deadline. I am notorious for starting something new and exciting, eventually getting bored or forgetting about it, and then never returning to it. Writing something for a specific performance would force me to begin a new choral composition and see to it that the music would actually get finished. After all, an entire choir would be relying on me to get this done. I specifically wanted to work with a choir that may not typically have the opportunity to work with a composer in the creation of new music. Unfortunately, many ensembles, especially ones in smaller school districts, have to deal with tight budgetary constraints, so they usually can't afford this kind of thing. I contacted a few choir directors whose programs I felt might fall into this category to see if they would be interested in having me write a new piece just for them. And sure enough, I found someone. Meet Heather Baker, the director of the Clyde Junior High and High School Choir programs in Clyde, Texas, just outside of the town of Abilene, where I live. Heather was thrilled at the idea of her students being able to perform a never-before-heard piece, so we quickly set up a meeting to discuss what kind of music would be best for her group. Upon meeting with Heather, I gathered as much information as I could that would help me write a piece that would best fit her ensemble's needs. Information like how many singers are in this group, what type of voicing would be best, like SAB, SATB, what are the safe ranges that I should stay in for each voice part. After all, I didn't want to put a note that's too high for the sopranos or too low for the basses in the music. And one of the most important questions, when would this piece be premiered? Heather told me she would like to have her group premiere the piece during their fall concert, which would be in either late September or early October, which meant that in order for the choir to have enough time to learn and rehearse the music, I would need to deliver the final score to her by the end of August at the latest. Doesn't sound too bad, right? Except that I forgot to mention something. The date that we had this meeting was August 1st. That's right, I had less than a month to write this thing. So now that I had the information I needed from Heather, it was time to get to work on the music. I began with a simple musical idea that popped into my head one day while I was driving in the car, and it went like this. Ba 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 da 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 ba ba da 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 ba 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 da 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 ba ba da 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 da. Because I could tell that this musical idea would most likely be repeated many times in a row, I was quick to identify this as an ostinato, a continually repeated musical phrase or rhythm. This little ostinato would be the foundation of this entire piece, laying the groundwork for new musical ideas that would be added later. I could tell from the sound of the ostinato that the piece would be using the time signature of 12/8, so I immediately changed it accordingly. Then, it was time to write the very first notes of what would eventually become Eclipse. Yeah, it was a struggle at first. But adjusting the key signature accordingly, I finally got the notes onto the staff, and boom, we had our very first musical idea on the page, or screen. To top it all off, I adjusted the tempo to be closer to the way I imagined it in my head. I settled on 98 beats per minute for the time being. Now, the way that I currently had the ostinato written was in a much more smooth style. But if you remember the way that I sang it, it had much more of a short and bouncy feel to it. So in order to create this type of sound, I had to make the notes staccato, with each note distinctly separated from each other. Typically, this type of sound is indicated on the music with a staccato marking, a small dot just above or below the note head. However, because I was using the 12/8 time signature, I decided to show this articulation by literally shortening the length of the dotted quarter notes to just eighth notes. I just felt like this looks a lot better and is easier to understand than this, with two dots next to the note head. But what do you think? Leave a comment below. Now it was time to create some new musical material. I was pretty sure that the ostinato would be just that, a repeated rhythmic figure that would support larger musical ideas in the piece. So I needed something new to go over top of the ostinato. I played around with some ideas until I settled on this musical line, which I put in the soprano part. And it was this musical idea that would become one of the main melodies in Eclipse. I also added some new basic harmony to this melody. This harmony, which I currently put in the alto and baritone parts, added a new feel to the piece, making it sound much more dramatic. Take a listen. And with that, I had everything I needed to write the rest of the piece. But hold on, Christian, you might be thinking. You essentially just wrote two separate musical ideas, an ostinato and a melody, and you already thought you had enough material to write the rest of the piece? Well, yes. Yes, I did. Sure, there would probably be a bit of new material added here and there, the most notable of which would be the piano accompaniment, but overall, this was enough. It's easy to feel like you have to keep adding more and more to a piece to make it more interesting, but if there's one thing I've learned as a composer, it's that some of the most creative moments can come from evolving ideas that have already been written. Not to mention that most listeners, in my experience, enjoy the familiar more than the foreign, so recycling material can actually many times solidify someone's enjoyment of the music. Now that I had all of my basic musical ideas written down, it was time for the rubber to really hit the road. I began developing these ideas and distributing them to each voice part so that each line began to look more like the way they do now in the final score, adding more specific detail and articulation to each line. I made sure all the voice parts were singing the ostinato together at the very beginning so that it would be introduced to the audience nice and strong and quickly get stuck in their head. Going into the section where the main melody is sung for the second time, I switched it up to where the men would be singing it while the ladies sang the ostinato on top. This was a simple way for me to make the music more interesting to listen to without drastically changing any notes. Plus, as a bass baritone myself, I knew it was a rare but fun occasion to be able to sing the main melody and not just harmony. During this development, I noticed that some of the lower notes for the alto and baritone parts were getting pretty extreme, so I decided to bump the key signature up from B minor to C sharp minor, an entire whole step. This would allow the altos and baritones to, actually sing the low notes, which is always helpful. Let's see, am I forgetting anything else that I added? I don't think so. Oh yeah, the piano accompaniment. This was the other big piece of the puzzle that was yet to be added. I initially thought that the piano part would be quite rhythmic, adding to the intensity of the ostinato, but when I began to write, it turned out to be very long and drawn out. It was still dramatic, like the ostinato, but in a very different way. It sounded very large and powerful, almost like it was announcing the arrival of something big. It was a musical contrast that, while unexpected, was very welcome. I think it complemented the voice parts beautifully while still sounding unique and standalone. Ultimately, I think it's what tied the whole piece together. Here's how it sounded once I began to add the accompaniment. So something weird about the way I write choral music is that I don't typically pick out a text to set the music to. Instead, I'll write the music first and then create a text that fits the theme of the music, and Eclipse was no exception. At this point, I didn't even know what the piece would quote-unquote be about. I didn't even know that the piece would be titled Eclipse. However, now that the music was really beginning to take shape, I was keeping an ear out for bits and pieces of text that I felt might fit with some of the notes and overall tone of the piece. Enter this guy, just a simple musical idea consisting of 3 notes, C sharp, G sharp, and C sharp again. A simple do, so, do. I decided to include this to add a more hopeful sounding section that could bridge the gap between the middle and ending of the piece. And it just so happened to be these 3 notes that gave me my very first glimpse into what the subject matter of the piece would be. When listening to these notes, 3 simple words popped into my head: sun, shine, down. Not only that, I could almost feel these words being repeated over top each other in each voice. Almost like a crowd of many people were saying these words all at the same time. It was as if this group of people were making a request for the sun to shine down. But that doesn't make any sense. I mean, the sun obviously shines every day, so why would someone be asking for this to happen? I could only keep writing and keep listening to find out more. In the meantime, I wrote in this overlap of voices by repeating those same 3 notes in each voice part, offset by 1 measure in order to create a cool echo effect. Here's how that sounded. I kept chugging forward, and before long, I had hit an important milestone, the double bar line. If you're unfamiliar with the term, the double bar line signifies the end of a piece of music. And for a composer like me, it's always a relief to see it finally appear when you're writing. The piece was by no means finished, but I now had a rough skeleton of what it was going to look like from beginning to end, and there was still lots to do. Fortunately, in writing the final sections, I had caught another glimpse of possible text for the music. Following the sunshine down echo, I had written a couple final big musical statements that I knew the choir would sing quite powerfully to finish off the piece. And lucky for me, I was able to discern the following words to go along with them. Let your light return. So this clearly lines up with the previous text we heard, with a large group crying out to the sun to shine down. But now with this line, it would imply that the sun was once there, but disappeared. And then it hit me. What is the one thing that would imply the sun just all of a sudden disappearing? A solar eclipse. That was it. That was the subject of the music, an eclipse. The story of this piece would be a group of people who have no idea what a solar eclipse is, experiencing one unexpectedly. The result is temporary chaos, with the people crying out for the sun to bring back its light. Not only did I feel like this was an interesting idea for a story in the music, but it was also a great opportunity for symbolism. After all, everyone goes through periods in their life when darkness seems to cover everything, and it's in those moments that we yearn for the light to return. And so, the title Eclipse was born. Looking back, I think a lot of this was subconsciously inspired by the solar eclipse we experienced in the United States earlier that year. I even remember thinking at that point, I wonder what it would be like for someone to experience this who had no idea what a solar eclipse was. They would probably be freaking out. Now that I had a solid grip on the musical and textual core of the piece, it was time to start smoothing everything out, starting with the score itself. Up until this point, I had been writing the music on my iPad using a software called StaffPad. It's my favorite tool to use when I'm coming up with the music itself, but now that I was approaching the end of the writing process, it was time to move it into another notation software on my computer, which would help me create the final professional-looking score. There are multiple notation softwares to choose from, but my preference is one called Sibelius. Not only would Sibelius allow me to create a nice-looking score, it would also allow me to more easily type in and play around with different ideas for the text. Ta-da! Now we have the score in Sibelius. I began slowly adding text to different sections that fit both the musical line and general story of the piece. One line read, "Not knowing what was going on, we cried as one, please bring back the sun." This line in particular stuck out to me as it presented a great opportunity to do what's called, in the music world, text painting. Text painting is when the music is literally mirroring what is being said in the text. A simple example of this would be, say, having the notes ascend while the text describes a bird flying higher and higher into the sky, or having the notes get louder while describing a train barreling toward you. So for this line, describing the group of people crying out as one, I decided to remove the harmony and instead have each voice part sing the exact same notes, though still in their preferred octave. This created a cool moment where the voices suddenly came together at the very moment they cry as one. Pretty cool, right? Around this time, I had another breakthrough regarding the text, specifically in regards to the ostinato. This whole time, I had assumed that any time the ostinato was sung, it would be on a da sound, similar to the way I sang it earlier. Ba, ba, ba. But I once again thought of a few words that just seemed to fit parts of the ostinato. Those words were covers the sun and overrun as a word to rhyme. After thinking about it some more, I decided to officially make the ostinato into a chant, which would be setting the scene to the story using the words, "Darkness covers the sun with all of the light overrun." At first, I didn't think this sentence would work very well because of the word darkness. Specifically, during the moment when the notes go up, it sounded a little weird to me because the syllable dark was stretched over 2 notes. Here's an example. Darkness, darkness covers the sun. See what I mean? Maybe this doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but it was really bugging me. It felt awkward to sing at full tempo, and it muddied the short staccato sound I was going for. But then I thought of a simple fix. Simply make the n sound act as its own syllable, so that instead of darkness, it would be pronounced darkness. This made it easier to sing in rhythm while keeping the staccato sound. Here's a glimpse at what it ended up sounding like.
Darkness, darkness covers the sun, with all of the light overrun. The darkness covers the sun, with all of the light overrun.
If you want to actually witness the moment I thought of this idea to fix the word darkness, you can actually hear it happen in episode 9 of my YouTube series Choral Music from Scratch, where I recorded myself composing Eclipse in real time. Many of the visuals you've been seeing on screen are actually from that series, so if you've enjoyed hearing my recap of how I wrote this piece so far, I highly recommend checking that out next, as you'll see even more specific details and moments from when I was writing it. I'll link it down in the description. After making some finishing touches on the music and lyrics, I had done it. The piece was complete. You'll hear the final product at the end of this video, but I thought I would read what I settled on for the full lyrics of the piece. Darkness covers the sun, with all of the light overrun. A challenge to what we once knew, the light did fade from our view. Not knowing what was going on, we cried as one, please bring back the sun. A final drop of sunlight gave way to chaos in the new night, and with no other source of a hope, we cried as one, please bring back the sun. Sun shine down on us. Let your light return to earth. Let your light return. Now that the music and lyrics were fully complete, it was time to do one more thing. Make the score look nice. I didn't want the music to look like I had hastily put it together. I needed it to look clean, professional, and publish-worthy. After all, once the Clyde High School Choir premiered the piece, I would eventually be putting it out on my website for other choirs to purchase. The process of cleaning up a score and making it look professional is called engraving. It can be tedious at times, especially depending on the software you're using, but it's something you don't want to gloss over or rush. The presentation of the product is, in many ways, just as important as the product itself. Here's what that looked like. Just like that, the final product was ready to be delivered to Heather. I was able to send the score to her with still a full week left in August. I made the deadline. And with it, I'd created a brand new piece of music, just like I wanted. Heather loved the piece and couldn't wait to show it to her students. As the new school year began, she printed out copies for each member of her varsity choir, and they began to rehearse. I had done my part. The music was literally in their hands now. All I could do now was wait until the premiere, which was now scheduled for early October. Okay, I kind of lied. There were still a few more things I could do until the premiere. I began by announcing the collaboration with the Clyde High School Choir on my social media. Whenever I work with a choir, I want to do everything I can to promote the ensemble because these singers deserve it. It would be a shame for them to work so hard on such a unique opportunity without anyone knowing about it. Heather also sent out these cute invitation cards to the community to advertise the premiere as well. Another place that I advertised the new music was my email list. Each month, I send out a newsletter talking about the different projects I'm working on, as well as upcoming performances of my work. If you would like to receive my monthly newsletter, you can sign up at christianfortnermusic.com/mailings. You'll even receive my choral piece, Rising Storm, for free, in all 3 voicings I might add, which you can have your own choir use in a performance. Speaking of performing, the premiere date was now drawing near. As the concert date approached, Heather and I scheduled a day for me to come down to Clyde High School and work with the choir in person. Since Eclipse had never been performed before, I needed to hear what it sounded like with real voices singing it before the premiere actually happened. This way, I could have the choir make adjustments to fit the sound I was picturing in my head if need be. Even though I always do my best to translate the sound I'm wanting onto the sheet music, there's always a few things that I miss and don't notice until I hear the choir actually sing it. This time around was no exception, so I spent my time with them giving direction and other feedback, as well as answer a few questions that the students had. Heather and the choir were doing a great job with the piece already, and I was thrilled to hear Eclipse come to life. After I finished working with the group, I left them a little gift, a Fortner Fam membership card. I give these little cards only to those who have participated in the premiere of one of my original pieces, so they're quite rare. It's a way of remembering the experience we went through together and recognizing the hard work that they put in to bring this music into the world for the first time. Hey guys, I just finished the clinic with the Clyde High School Concert Choir. They are performing my new work, Eclipse, on Monday, this coming Monday, October 7th. They have been working so hard, and they sounded incredible, and it was such a joy working with them and with Heather Baker today. And so I hope that you're able to come out and support them this Monday. Details in the description. Hope to see you there. So after a successful workshop with the choir, only one thing left remained: the premiere. And just like that, Eclipse was shown to the world. The Clyde High School Choir did a wonderful job, and I was so pleased with how the journey concluded. It was crazy to think that just a few short months ago, this simply began as an idea and a text message. But in working together with Heather and her students, we were able to make something beautiful that couldn't have been done without any one of us doing our part. Not only that, but the process of writing original music for these students really seemed to impact their enjoyment of choir in a positive way. Following the premiere, I sent the choir a survey to see what they thought of the overall process of working with me and premiering a brand new piece, and the results were exciting. 96% of the students said that they enjoyed the process of premiering new music. 62% said that the experience made them look forward to choir more than usual. 77% said that they learned something new about music composition, and a whopping 58% said that they might consider learning more about composition in the future or even pursuing it as a career. Wow. As a composer, I have 3 goals: equip music educators, grow performers, and inspire listeners. And in receiving that data following the premiere, I felt like I'd adequately done that. And to me, achieving those 3 goals with a choir is more important than anything else. And hopefully, this music will continue to achieve those goals for years to come. Thank you to Heather Baker for being on board with this project from the very beginning, and thank you to the Clyde High School varsity choir members for breathing life into this music. I am so proud of what you accomplished, and I wouldn't have wanted any other choir to premiere this music. And thank you for watching. If you're a choir director yourself, comment below if you and your choir have ever worked with a composer before. And if you haven't, I would be honored to be the first. You can click the link in the description if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, and we'll chat soon. And hey, maybe your choir could be featured in a video like this too. And with that, the story of Eclipse was finally... Wait a minute. What's this?